Good morning, all of you. And we are doing the chapter Nationalism in Europe. As yesterday we have discussed about the French Revolution and how does that was the beginning of nationalism in Europe. Now our main topic is the making of nationalism in Europe. So when we are talking about the nationalism in Europe, so till mid 18th century, there were no nation states in Europe. Germany, Italy, and Switzerland were ruled by different rulers with their well-defined territories. Eastern and central part of Europe too had autocratic monarchies. People from different ethnic groups occupied these areas and spoke different languages. Sunderland and Bohemia were dominated by German-speaking people. It also included the province of Lombardy, Venetia, which had Italian-speaking people. In Hungary, the half of the population spoke Magyar and the other half of the population spoke different dialects. In the part of Galicia, the aristocratic class spoke Polish language. That means absence of collective identity or common culture among these groups. Apart from this, a large group of peasant people like Romans to the east of Transylvania, Bohemians and Slovaks to the north, Slovens to Carnelia and the Croats to the south lived within the boundary. And the only tie which bind these different groups together was a common allegiance to the emperor. Now we will discuss about the lives of the aristocrats and the new middle class in the 19th century. The landed aristocracy dominated all social and political systems. They were united by a common lifestyle, huge estates, and the large townhouses were owned by them. French was the common language they preferred in the high society and diplomatic circles. Marriages connected the aristocratic families, though they formed a small group. They dominated with power. If we are talking about the Western and some parts of Central Europe, we will find commercial classes began to emerge because of setting up industries and beginning of trade. This class caused the emergence of new social groups like the middle class and the working class. The middle class included industrialists, businessmen, and the professionals. Industrialization began in Europe during the 19th century and brought with it growth of towns and cities inhabited by a strong commercial class which produced goods for domestic markets. Along with it, a class of people that we can call new working class, which included professional businessmen and the industrialists, though they were small in number, educated, liberal-minded, and believed in national unification. They strongly condemned or protested aristocratic setup in the society. It was because of these idols they gained popularity and emerged as a new social class. They stood for equality and freedom and stressed the formation of constitution, giving preference to representative form of government rather than established autocratic regimes. But equality before law did not necessarily stand for universal suffrage in Europe. When we are talking about the new middle class in Europe, they advocated the concept of liberalism. And when we are talking about the liberalism derives from Latin word liberal, which means free. It was an ideology that stood for freedom for the individual and equality of all before the law. So this was the social liberalism. And now we'll discuss about the political liberalism. Politically, liberalism stood for constitution, a representative government ruling by consent, a parliamentary system, ownership of private property, and end of privileges of aristocracy. Now we'll discuss about economic liberalism. Economically, liberalism stood for freedom of markets, end of state restrictions on movement of goods and capital, creation of unified economic territory, allowing movement of goods, people, and capital. But when we are talking about this equality, freedom, along with this, the new middle class in Europe advocated the concept of liberalism. They had given stress on freedom and equality for all. But at the same time, this was not visible in the political experiment around Europe. If you remember, yesterday also we have discussed about active citizens. That means the right to vote was exclusively with the property class, and that too only men. Women, even with property rights, were excluded from right to vote. The Jacobins, who stood for revolution and equality, were also biased on this issue. And they have also provided right to vote to all male. Napoleon, who stood to end privileges, to reduced women to the margin of the society with no political rights for long, did These women and non-property male struggle to win political rights for themselves. Now we will just discuss about the different features of economic condition of German-speaking regions in the first half of the 19th century. They faced many economic hardships, like Napoleon's administrative measures. Whatever the steps taken by Napoleon, especially administrative efforts, had created out of countless small principalities a confederation, that means a group of 39 states. Each state possessed its own currencies. And now you just consider, if you are moving to India and in different states, different currencies, different weights and measures, the same principle was applied. Each state possessed its own currency and weights and measures. A merchant traveling from Hamburg to Nuremberg had to pass 11 customs barriers and pay a customs duty of about 5% at each of them. So you can easily understand what will be the cost of the product. Different weights and measures were big obstacles to economic exchange and growth, as it involved time-consuming calculations like in 1834. To remove all these obstacles or barriers, a customs union which we can call Zollvereinigung, was formed by the Prussia along with most of the German states, and the steps they have taken for the solving this issue, that is, tariff barriers were abolished, number of currencies operating earlier 30 reduced to 2 only. A network of railways was created for harnessing economic interest. So these were the steps of liberalism.